The Coonhound Collective podcast is brought to you by CZ Welding and Custom Dog Boxes. Dog boxes built by hunters for hunters. Check these guys out today. This is your host, Jason Snellgrove, and I will be your guide as we journey down the road to pleasure hunt or hitting the long trail to those great comp hunts. This is the Coonhound Collective podcast. Welcome to the Coonhound Collective podcast this week. This week I have traveled to Greenwood, Mississippi, and I am sitting here with Mr. Eddie Muse. Mr. Eddie, how's it going?
Oh, it's going pretty good. Real good, in fact.
Yeah, we getting a little rain here.
Yeah, getting a lot of rain. Just spotted every day. Look like we're getting a shower. I think we live in Florida now.
Well, Mr. Eddie, I don't know that you really need an introduction, but go ahead and tell everybody where you're from and kind of what you do for a living and stuff like that.
Okay, well, I'm Eddie Muse. I'm from Greenwood, Mississippi. I was born in Craigside, Mississippi, which is about 5 miles north of here, toward Money, Mississippi. And when I was raised, it's much like today. In fact, I was born on August 28th, and in a week, if I live that long, I'll be 78. And the day I was born, it was so muddy. We lived Daddy had a farm. We lived at the end of a gumbo field road, and my mama was milking, and I was in there out fixing to have me and went to labor, and Daddy hooked the wagon up to go get the midwife, and the wagon wheels bogged up with gumbo and wouldn't go, so he unhooked the mule, threw the cotton sack over his back, loped on up the road to about 3 miles where the midwife lived and forced her to get on the mule with him and rode back, and I was already here premature, so my life started out pretty tough right from the start.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know that, but on August the 28th, I'll be 44 years old. That's my birthday too.
I'll be 78 if I make it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So did you always grow up right around here?
I've lived here all my life till the only time I've been away from here was in the Army from 1966 to 69, and a 3-year term. Went to Korea and come back and stationed in Colorado, and come on home. And I had started coon hunting before that. When I was a kid, I went to visit a friend, spent the night with him, a school friend. I was about 9 years old. I didn't have nothing but tennis shoes to wear, and the ground was froze. And that guy's daddy and a couple of his uncles were going coon hunting. And man, I was cried because I wanted to go. And finally, the mama found some kind of old coat and put on me, and never did find no boots and that would fit me. And I went coon hunting with them. We never treed a coon that night. I know we made a tree, and it was a den tree, and then they took an axe and cut it down, and there wasn't nothing in it. And got home about 4 o'clock in the morning. My feet was froze, and I remember Mr. Vining saying, well, we broke him. He'll never go coon hunting again as long as he lives. But obviously they didn't break me when I was, I'm going to say I was about 13, 14 years old. I hunted with Breland Ainsworth and Cleveland Ainsworth. Every night they would let me go. And that's why I really got started coon hunting. Is a guy that I sold newspapers as a young guy, teenagers, I think 9th grade in high school. And this man that worked up there at the manufacturing company where I sold them papers, give me of course it wasn't registered, but he gave me a black and tan puppy. And I lived in town, and the puppy run loose, and it was a natural. They'd trail cats up and trim. Of course, I didn't know anything about it, but eventually it got run over because I didn't have a pen or nowhere to put it or nothing. But I was still coon hunting with them guys. And when I got out of the Army, me and D. Turner went to coon hunting together real regular. He's a farmer. He's a farm manager, and he lived at a place up north of here, just a little piece. And I'd go every night. Anybody would go. And I still hadn't ever competition on it. And I run a uniform route. Right after I got out of the Army, I was already married. Me and Judy was married at that time. and I'd go through Inverness, Mississippi, and Bill Ed Tennant lived there. And the first wheat light he ever sold that was a headlamp, I bought it. I was the first one to ever own one. And that's a pretty good story in itself, because DeWitt Burns, he's dead now, but he lived at Kosciuszko, Mississippi, Williamsville, actually. And Bill Tennant told me on a Sunday morning, he said, I want you to go over there with me. And he can't get his light to work, and you're the only one that owns one. See if you can figure out what's wrong. Well, when we got over there, we drove all the way over there, and we got over, I walked in there and looked at his light where he had it plugged up, and he never turned it hard enough for that thing, that ball to click in there and make it charge. But that's a pretty good story. That guy was a great guy. Him and Dwight Burns were super good people, and good horsemen too, you know. But Bill Ed sold me a dog called Shine. And of course it's on credit because didn't have no money. But he told me, he said, when you get through hunting this winter, you bring your hides over here and sell them, and we'll get that dog paid for. I don't forgot, I think I'll get $250 for that dog, a grade dog. It wouldn't stay treed. Purdy dog had a blaze face, a white tip on his tail, and 4 white stocking feet, and he was so black he's almost purple. Well, I started competition hunting with that dog. That's the first dog I ever carried to competition hunting. I guess I filled a storage room full of trophies with him. 3-hour hunts back then. And he was a way advanced over his dogs back then, did a lot of trailing. He did a lot of slick training and treed some coons too along the way. You know, he wasn't good, but I remember I used to carry weenies in my pocket, and I'd cut my light off, slip in there to him on the tree, because he'd leave every time he'd go in there. And it took me about 3 months before I ever got him where he'd stay, but I finally got him where he'd stay. I met an old guy up there at the floor, Mississippi, up there at Mount Mason, Aubrey Ford. One night hunting, he hunted by himself all the time. He never competition hunted nothing. He had some super good dogs. But he told me, he said, Eddie, quit giving that dog them weenies. When you go to that tree, just walk in there and tie him back and pet him real good. So when you shoot that coon out, don't let him have it, put it in the vest. I thought to myself, now that ain't very good advice, training a dog. But I tried it, and it worked immediately. I never had no more trouble with it. And I guess the first rescue dog I ever had, I traded a pretty good grade dog to Jarvis Umpers for a puppy, just a puppy. And she never was much. She turned out all right. And from there I got to know Rod LaPoon, you know, and got some good dogs from him, good pups from him. I never could buy a dog, didn't have that much money. But I trained several pretty good black and tans. And Ace wasn't near about the first one. I did buy one before I had Ace. I bought Langford's Big Hoss. That was a real nice dog, black and tan. But long story short, I know everybody's interested in what Ace done and everything. I'll just go into that.
Before you get in there, that other dog you were talking about there, what was he out of?
The Shine dog.
That and then the other dog there afterwards.
Shine was a grade dog.
Okay.
Langford's Big Hoss was out of Mr. Fred Sanders' Hank dog, and I can't remember the bottom side. But he was a pretty intelligent dog himself, and old Hank was a real smart dog. I think Hoss was probably, if I had to say, in my opinion, Hoss was probably the better coon dog, but that dog was, Mr. Fred's dog was real popular back then, you know, that Hank dog. I think, I can't remember if Mike Crockett's Hickey Hayes dog was off of Hank. I think he was off of Hank. He's off of him a litter mate, but both of them dogs were real good dogs. Advanced dogs, you know. But I had a dog at a raise called Sissy. It's off some local dogs here. I bought a dog called him Jackhammer. And the reason I called him Jackhammer, every time he barked on the tree, his feet would be down, and the next bark he'd bounce and his feet would be up, never touching the tree. And the next time it'd be down, he'd bark, and that's the way he treed the whole time he treed. And we bred him just to a local gyp here. And I can't remember who even owned the Jip. Yes, I do. It was David Westwater. But anyway, we bred them and raised a litter of puppies, and I guess every one of them turned out to be coon dogs. And I had one of them, and Riley come over here hunting with me, Riley LaFoon, and had Jip split treed, and treed looked pretty good, real good, in fact. And he, long story short, he wound up buying her. I didn't ever for sale, but he bought her. It wasn't hard to buy one for me. If I had done about what I thought I needed to do with them, they could be sold pretty quick. And I enjoyed that. That's what I enjoyed about coon hunting, is training the dog up and selling it for a decent amount of money, or culling it, one or the other. But anyway, he bought that dog. Me and Riley got to be really good friends. That was way before he owned Super Sting. And then as the time went on, of course, he bought Super Sting, and I had a dog that I'd bought from him. Let me think just a second now. I think that dog was a male dog, and he was pretty rough on the tree. He was rough anywhere, but he was a coon treer, and he was off of Super Sting, and Jip was off of Riley's old Frank dog. And I traded him back to Riley for Ace's mama, and she had a litter of puppies, and they all died of mastitis except one, and I had to pick of the litter in the deal, in the trade deal. So I drove all the way to Louisiana one afternoon, me and Dee Turner, and picked that puppy up. And while I was there, I bought a mule trailer from Riley. And Riley wanted that puppy. He didn't want to let me have it, but it wasn't but one. He kept saying he'd buy it, but I wouldn't sell it. I got the puppy and come on back home with it. And then I picked up another puppy, and I can't remember what he was off of, but it's all some Myers bred dogs. It's supposed to be real high-powered bred dogs. I had both of them at the same time. And I hunted with Clarence Stillman probably 3 or 4 times a week, and Clarence and myself and Ernest Milam went to all the hunts around, and getting on further into it, I was hunting a Jip at that time named Prudy that was off of Robertson's Black Bandit, and I'd got from Jarvis. She sounded like 2 dogs treeing when she treed. She was a tree dog. And she wasn't much count, though. She had about half her coons, but she was impressive everywhere else. But a lot of people liked her. I wasn't one of them. But anyway, I was hunting her, and Ace got old enough to hunt, and this other dog got old enough to hunt, and I told Junior, the other dog was a perfect picture of black and tan. Both of them were really good-looking dogs. Ace had a white spot in his chest. So Clarence Stillman took him. That was mine and his dog. We were partners on it. And he got him started. Well, he didn't really get him started going. He just carried him hunting, and he started on his own, just bam, first night, when he was behind other dogs and all. So I got him back from him. I started hunting him, and I'd hunt him by himself, even though he wasn't about 7 months old. And I'd hunt him with that dog I was talking about that was real rough at the time. And I still had him, and I traded Riley him for that Jip at a later date, and then sold the Jip back to him because he wanted to breed. And he did breed her several more times. And I know that Gage dog was a litter under Ace, and I think Solid and Gage were litter mates. I never bought another puppy out of her. Ace is the only one I ever had out of her. But
And Ace come from that litter where the whole litter died, and he was the only dog that lived?
He was the only one that lived.
Huh.
Now, the story was that he killed all his litter mates, but that didn't happen.
Yeah.
That was just a story that was told.
Well, I got a buddy that's got an English dog, and he had her artificially bred, and they had one puppy. That's all they had out of the litter. It's got kind of an ironic deal that that's kind of what happened with Ace. She ended up being the only puppy in the litter.
Yeah. I'd met Jay Tibble during that time, I had a dog called Satan Wing, Anyway, during that time, I'd met him, and he liked a black dog, and he wanted one. He had one, and I was gonna buy it from him, but he sold it to somebody else down South Mississippi. Long story short, he wanted to buy Ace, and so I told Junior, I said, well, do we want to sell him or not? And I said, he ain't worth much. He ain't about 11 months old, I think, at that time. Jay met me down there at the Dixon National. I think it's the first hunt we ever put Ace in. I could be wrong about that. I probably had him in a hunt before that and just can't remember it. But anyway, I carried him down there, and Jay went on the cast with me. Of course, we was hunting with 4 and 5 year old dogs. And I won the cast. I could have won the whole hunt, but I had to cast one, so I held back. Ace treed the second coon, or third coon. And I held back on treeing him because I wanted to assure myself of a win, cast win.
Yeah.
And I wound up getting second place in the Dixie National, and that was the biggest hunt in Mississippi at that time. It was. And so that was pretty prestigious deal, you know. And Junior and I started competition hunting, and then Jay finally, I guess he offered us $4,000, or maybe I asked him $4,000, knowing the dog wasn't worth over $2, you know.
Uh-huh.
And back then, but anyway, Jay wanted him, and he called me and said he's gonna take him. And I said, well, look, I said, I don't think me and Junior really want to sell this dog, but I said, we priced him, and I definitely am not gonna back out on my word, you know.
Yeah.
But I said, if you could, give yourself a week and see if you can find something else. So he called Gene Hicks and tried to buy, can't remember one of them dogs' names, but he had 2 dogs at that time that was real good dogs. One of them was Albert.
Yeah.
But anyway, he tried to buy either one of them. Gene wouldn't sell neither one of them, so we wound up having to sell him to Jay. We didn't have to, but we wound up selling him to Jay. And Jay kept him in hunting about 2 months and then sent him up here and paid me to hunt him.
Mm-hmm.
And Junior and I took that $4,000 and I went to Texas and bought Tick-Tock Doc, an English dog.
Okay.
That was Loomis bred. He was a fine hound. He had a clock in his head. He'd stay treed 58 minutes and he'd get leave if you didn't get to him.
So if you didn't get to him in 58 minutes, he's gone.
He's gone. Every time now. This didn't happen 1 or 2 times.
Yeah.
Every time, but he had to stay treed 58 minutes he left.
So you wasn't partial to just a black and tan. You just wanted to hunt a good dog.
Good, solid coon dog.
Okay.
And I liked the English, but I'd had an English too, you know.
Uh-huh.
But a real nice English called Willow Run Penny, a red and white open spotted English dog, and I won everything with her. And I had a lot of fun with that dog.
Yeah.
But I sold her to Irwin Mansongill, and I wasn't looking to sell her, but he called me. Well, no, wait a minute. I'm telling you wrong. It wasn't Irwin Mansongill. I can't remember the man's name now, but him and his dad hunted. They well known. I just can't remember his name. But he got me to put her on an airplane, give me $3,500 for him. I'm filthy rich at that time, you know, that kind of money. Yeah. She was already a Grand Night, dual Grand Night, 3 years old, but I'd done all I wanted to do with her.
Yeah. And so you, after you sold Ace, you went and got the Doc dog from Texas.
Yeah.
And what did you competition hunt him?
Yeah, me and Junior did. Junior hunted him more than I did.
Yeah.
Both of us competition hunted some, Junior mostly. And we sold that guy to some guy in Alabama wanted to buy him and give us a profit. Of course, back then that's what I'd do. I'd sell him in a heartbeat, you know.
Yeah.
So we sold him and bought a dog called Sissy.
Uh-huh.
It's a Commodore that lives in South Carolina.
Yeah.
I think that's who I sold that Jip to. But anyway, we bought a dog named Sissy from Roland Dickey.
Okay.
And that was a good dog. But if you turned her loose in the edge of the woods, headed 4 dogs in there, and it was a 2,000-acre plowed field behind you, she went across that 2,000-acre field. She would not ever go with the dog, not 2 steps.
So she wanted to be by herself.
She was by herself every time.
And this was an English dog or black?
English, red tick English.
Red tick English, okay.
And I can't tell you, we sold her, but I can't tell you why or anything. I guess getting aggravated with her trying to hunt her in competition her like that.
Yeah.
Down here. I can't really answer that, but we sold her. There wasn't nothing wrong with the dog.
Well, shoot, nowadays, that's what people look for. They want
Oh,
one.
yeah.
You cut them
well, it
loose.
was then, too. You know, she
Yeah.
had a coon when she treed.
Yeah.
But she's always going to be third or fourth track dog because everything is tracked right in front of her. She'd be trying to get away from them.
Yeah.
But she treed enough coons, she won quite a bit. A lot better dog than they thought she was when I bought her. And anyway, getting back to Ace and me and Junior.
Hey guys, this is Jason over at the Coonhound Collective podcast. Is your dog box starting to get wore? Maybe it's starting to get a little cracked like mine is. Maybe you've just been thinking about it's time to upgrade to a new box, but you've asked your buddies and you're just not real sure what direction to go in. Well, let me help you out here. Go check my friends out at CZ Welding and Fabrication, custom dog boxes and aluminum products on Facebook. You can check out all their custom work they do there and their designs that they do. If you don't see something that you don't exactly like there, reach out to Nathan at 540-810-5439, 540-810-5439, or send him a message through the Facebook page. I bet he can fix you up. Don't wait till fall to get that new dog box. Go ahead, get that dog box now. Get you something looking good in the back of your truck that you can be proud of and that you can haul your dog around in comfort. Check my friends out at CZ Welding and Fabrication. You won't go wrong. Dog boxes built by hunters for hunters. Get yours today. CZ Welding and Fabrication.
After we did that, we had we sold TikTok dog and bought a red tick dog from somebody, and it wasn't much good. It slick treed a lot too, you know. It had a good reputation, but it wasn't much count. It was all right. It'd go hunting and mine good and tree enough coons to keep you interested. Some way or another, I got Junior's half of that dog. I think I got the dog and Junior got the boot, the money when we traded dogs. That's what happened. And I told Jay after I hunted Ace a couple months, I said, man, I don't think I was charging him. I didn't try to charge him nothing. He just offered me like $250 a month. Yeah. I hunted him about 3 months, and I said, man, that's $750. I called him and told him, I said, it ain't no need in you paying me to hunt this dog like that. That's way too much money. Of course, he had money, but you never knew he had two nickels to rub them together. Uh-huh. But anyway, I told him, I said, he'd give half interest in the dog to his dad-in-law, Lee Evans. I said, I want to see if Mr. Lee will sell me his half. Well, Lee wanted that red tick, so he traded me his half of Ace for the red tick.
Okay, so that's how you ended back up with Ace.
Hey, back up with Ace. Me and Jay still wasn't 15 months old, 16. Not a lot of stories, a lot of dogs, but he was less than 18 months old, I think. But I started competition hunting, and we wound up with Ace and a dog called Hobie. Yeah. And we went to the World Hunt with Ace, UKC World Hunt one year, I think in '94. And we drawed a dog called Little Blackie from Missouri. She was Thomas Rowden on her. And she actually put up more points during that year's qualifying and the World Hunt plus points than any dog in it. And probably should have won the World Hunt, but long story short, she didn't win it. Yeah. And Thomas always said it was his fault. She didn't win it, didn't get further. I'll put it that way. Right. And anyway, Jay wound up going to Missouri. I couldn't go with him, and he wound up buying that Jeep. And so we had Ace, and all three of them were winners: Ace, Hobie, and the female Little.
Well, and I was going to ask you about the Hobie dog because I heard he ain't no slouch. He wasn't no slouch either.
Oh, he's a good hound.
Yeah.
I've had people come down here to breed the Ace, and I'd carry Ace and Hobie hunting. I remember one particular night. Now, Ace normally would beat Hobie. If you hunted them 5 times, Ace would win 3. Okay. But that's about it, on an average. But that particular night, we carried them hunting, and Hobie treed 5 coon, Ace treed 4 coon, and the last tree Ace was on was out across a big lake. Couldn't get to him, and I hollered for him to heel, and after you hollered, I trained him that way. Yeah. When you hollered heel, he shut off right that second and would come straight to you. He'd never make another bark, not one.
Boy, a good handle on a hound is worth a gold mine.
Oh yeah, I remember sure. Mark Summer always up there in that cast I was telling you about with little Blackie at that hunt, and they got out in a 500-acre cornfield, if it was an acre, running a fire out of a coon, and the hunt run out.
Yeah.
And we didn't have a chance to win no way. Little Blackie done smoked us. And I threw my spotlight out there and hollered Ace real loud, and I hollered Hill. He shut off. Mark looked at me like I was crazy, you know, and he said, "You think that dog's coming?" I said, "You ain't heard him bark, have you?" And by the time I was saying that, he heard him coming through the corn. He kicked the dirt real hard, you know. Dang, man, I'd give anything if I had a dog to do that.
A handle is worth a lot to me. I know some guys don't care. They want them to go and don't come back, but to me, a handle is worth a lot.
Oh, yeah, it was. Ace was a good, hard hunting dog. Now, he throwed some dogs that didn't hunt very good, but he never failed to go hunting. He went hunting. You could turn him loose with a full-in-heat jip right beside him in the woods, and he went on hunting.
Yeah.
Now, I remember back... between me and Junior in 1992, he was born in 91, January 91.
Okay.
In 1992, we hunted him, just scattered hunts and made him a night champion to hunt him in UKC. And I think he was number 24 or 25, I don't forgot how they did it, but had the black and tan hunt, championship hunt in Hamburg, Arkansas. And I went over there, because we going over there to hunt anyway. And of course, I want to see all them high-powered black and tans. And, Eddie Fender with Sugar Cookie, and Tam Young with Fiddler again, or something again. It was one of them dogs like that, but it's a real good dog. And in fact, Tam had a couple of good dogs in that hunt, but they got eliminated on the first round. I can't tell you how. And I really don't even remember how I won the first round. I don't even remember who I drew. But in the late round, it got down to where it was Sugar Cookie, which was a national champion, leading dog in the nation, and Tosac Tom Bill. Now, he was all for Tam's dogs, but John Chingalani owned him, and he was about a third strike dog. He wasn't a good strike dog, but he was a coon trier. He was a dog to beat at this time in this era. That's the dog you did not want to draw when you went to a hunt, was Tosac Tom Bill. But it was froze ground, water everywhere, froze, no leaves, dead winter in March. And we went out the late round, and all my buddies left, went on home. I was there by myself, and they knew I couldn't beat that Tosac Tom Bill dog. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know that this is truth, and somebody may contradict this. But when we went on that cast, Tosac Tom Bill would not leave Sugar Cookie. Ace wouldn't pay her no attention. Ace treated a coon on him right off. We found it. Then Ace treated another coon, and he treated underwater. And they just come out of that road, you had to treat your dog immediately behind the bark. Just that year. And they had been out a month or two. And Ace located and treed, and I sat there and I treed him, but he wasn't barking. Had his head stuck in that hole on that water. So I got minus, and then he come back and located, and I treated him again. And we went in there, and I remember Eddie Fender was terrible upset about that dog. It looked puppy whooping him, I mean, it bothered him bad. I looked down, I got my head wet. I got down there and looked and seen the coon in the hole. So Clay Young was judging final cast. He got down there and looked in the hole, seen the coon. But I won a breed hunt that year with that pup, against two of the best dogs that's ever been in the black and tan breed.
Yeah.
So that was something to be proud of, and a good accomplishment back then. When I remember plain as day, just like right now, we walked back in that clubhouse, and Tam asked Clay, he said, "Who won?" He said, "Eddie did with that Ace dog." He said, "What did he look like?" He said, "He looked like a coon dog." He treated 3 coons on that cast. Clay told him he looked like a coon dog.
Yeah.
Now, that was the first major hunt we hunted him in, and we probably should have never bred that dog when we did, but Jarvis Hump was just jumping up and down for me to breed one of his jips. And I did. If I had to do I would have never bred him till he's 5 or 6 years old.
Yeah.
Are you tired of whipping, scolding, and shocking to make them get alone? Is your buddy tired of helping you set your dog up for correction night after night? Do you really want your dog to be alone because you forced him to be? Or would you rather him be alone because he wants to be? Grand Night Champion Small Town Lone Survivor is the product of over 25 years of strong natural-born independent traits. This bold trait has been passed down from generation to generation and is showing up in loner offspring today. Loner is a direct son of Hall of Fame Grand Night Champion Cabin Creek Rowdy and Grand Night Champion Lonesome Dove Lori. Loner has a booming mouth that is talked about in every cast he has been in, including the 2021 World Hunt Finals. Loner is a no-reverse, ball-mouth open trailer who ends it plussed up with a huge dying locate and steady chop. Loner loves getting split and is a stay-put gun-pressure tree dog. Loner's intelligence is also impressive. He knows over 12 voice and hand signal commands. Loner has a character that loves like Jesus, but he doesn't walk on water. If you're interested in breeding to Loner, contact Brett Stevens at Small Town English Kennels at 417-300-3777 or find him on Facebook.
If you're interested in running a stud ad for your dog here on the Coonhound Collective podcast, reach out to us at thecoonhoundcollective@gmail.com. Send us a message through Facebook or Instagram, and we'll be glad to get with you to get you an ad built and get you pricing on all of our ads.
But anyway, I bred him, and
How old was he at this time?
he barely in it two, just barely two.
Barely two, okay.
Yeah, and that hunt was actually in '93,
Okay.
but it was for '92 black and tan breed race. Just
Gotcha.
added in '93. And I don't forget what all it won in '93. He won several things in '93. I know he won the state race in '93. He won the breed hunt. He won the state race.
And we're talking PKC.
PKC.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And he might have won. I don't know. I'm not gonna say he won the state. I just know he won the breed hunt and the breed race. And I think he won the state. I know he did. He won the state race that year too.
Okay.
And then, you know, I finished him the dual grand that year. A lot of things got done that year. I remember in one of them ads I had read, he was, I have my phone I looked at it, but he had 3,000 and something points, plus points, in 4 hunts, and 0 miles and whatever number of circle in UKC trying to make him a grand night. I had to add, and he just had 4 wins at that time.
Holy cow.
But that, you know, just reading back, seeing them things, you done forgot them, you know. I have. I'm not real sentimental, you know. I remember talking about that. I remember that little blackie dog was 4 of us. Randy Smith was one of them. I don't forgot who else. We was hunting up there on about a 3/4 mile, a half mile off Blacktop Road. Mm-hmm. And she went the opposite direction. Them dogs had done treat a couple possums. She done treat one coon. And she got minus, you know, time caught her on track. Mm-hmm. And after the hunt was over, I picked her up, went down the highway, and she done got run over. And I brought her back up here and pulled the collar off of her, throwed her in the ditch. And they said, "Man, I can't believe you throw that dog in the ditch. You got a dog that would. You need to take her and bury her." I said, "Man, all I can say is a good one gone, bring another on. You know, that's it."
Yeah.
And they didn't appreciate me very much that night. None of them. They all did know me though.
Yeah.
Just kind of matter of fact and blunt,
Yeah.
you know, of what I do and say. But that 93, Ace was in the first national hunt PKC had. And Junior Stillman handled him, and there were 50-something dogs there. And he got in the final 3, and it was John Evans and Junior and Leroy Gamble with Hillbilly Mike. I couldn't think of his name, but he won a bunch right at the same time, about the same age as Ace. And that late round, they drew out, and the daylight called him. And Ace had 100 strike, and Hillbilly Mike had 75, and John had 25. Well, John wanted to hunt because he only had 25 minus, and of course I had 100 minus. Junior had 100 minus, Junior Stillman, and we lost that. But they treed across the lake. It's full daylight, 7:30 in the morning, and they go up there where they treed at, and John and Leroy and whoever the guide was trying to figure out a way to get across that lake, around that lake to get them dogs. You know, it's going to be a long couple-hour trip. And Junior didn't say nothing. He just hollered. He said, "Ace, heel." Said he never made another bar. Dropped off that tree and swam that lake and come to him. Said all of them was kicking and cussing.
Oh, I bet.
Aggravated, you know. And next year, Don Redmond had him up at his house, and I can't remember why Don Redmond had him up there, but he had him for whatever reason. And he hunted him in the Nationals. And I do remember the first round in that's 94. The first round in that Nationals, he drew a dog called Whitey. His name was Clover. Doug Jackson hunted him. He was a super nice dog. And Swamp Rooster. And I can't remember the other dog, but he won that cast with Ace. And the late round, and they drove up there to turn loose, and I think David Carr was in the cast because he won the cast with Elmo. But they turned loose, and Ace treated 2 coons on them. And then after that, Ace just got quiet, just kind of disappeared, you know, and so did Kurt Shevers. How you pronounce the guy that owned all the plot dogs? Kurt Shevers?
Shevers?
I don't know, but I bet you everybody knows what I'm talking about. But him and his dog and Ace come up missing. Well, the dogs got kind of scattered, and Don, you know, David Dow was judging, but Don told him, he said, something ain't right about it, you know, but he minused him for time catching or whatever, and they called time out. Well, they couldn't even pick up Ace or Kurt's dog, neither one. And whoever was waiting in the truck at the cast had done left. And they found Ace 7 miles from there. And the way they found him, people called Jay and told him they had this dog. 15, 20 minutes there, they come up missing. And 7 miles away.
Holy
and
crap.
He called me and told me, and he didn't know Junior's number, and I called Junior and told him where it was. He went up there and got him. They had him in the house. Junior said they was feeding him snacks and 2 little girls playing with him and all. They just loved that dog, you know. And they found Kurt's dog tied to a man's barn out there. The man didn't even know he was tied out there.
Oh, my goodness.
So that went on that year. And I'll skip from there. We didn't hunt him a whole lot after that in the hunts. But we did hunt him in the World Hunt in '95.
Okay.
And Clarence Stillman was handling him. And I don't forget who he drawed early, but anyway, he won his early round. And he was on a late round, and Ace had treed a coon on him. And then Ace was treed again, and I don't know who was judging. I don't forgot who was judging, but Junior told him Ace never shut up when he treed, never shut up. And he shut up. He told him, he said, there was 2 people in a truck out there. I know both of them, I ain't gonna call their names, but one of them was kind of involved in another incident. But there was 2 people in a truck out there, and when they called time out because the dogs had scattered. When Junior went back to the truck, you couldn't carry a tracker with you back then. Junior went back to the truck and got his tracker. He couldn't pick him up at all. And he'd been less than 30 minutes. And then I called him and told him where the dog was. And they was on time out then. Junior drove straight down there and got him. He said, my dog he might be fast, but he said he can't get 7 miles up there without somebody carrying him up there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that happened on that, and we just said the heck with it. Jay was sick when we lost him. Don found him in a strip mine, you know, at the National hunt when he come up missing, and Don handled him. He found him in a strip mine, Kurt's dog tied to a barn, and then Ace winds up the next year way down there 7 miles where they turned loose at a place.
Yeah.
We had some handlers back them days that was in the relocation business or moving business, whichever you want to call it, you know. And it wasn't just one, it was two or three of them. I know one young guy, I ain't gonna call his name either, but they absolutely ruined that kid and made an outlaw out of him, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He's from Tennessee. But I ain't calling his name, I ain't calling nobody's name, I'm just stating facts. And most people gonna know anyway,
Yeah.
but I'm just telling you that's why. That was the last hunt he was in, a major hunt. And Jay got cancer, and I hated breeding. And he told me, he said, if you'll keep him and breed him, I'll give you every penny you get off stud feed business. We won't split it no more. And Jimmy Reese wanted to buy him, and we sold him to Jimmy. And Jay didn't want to sell him. He did not want to sell him. And I kind of regret that I didn't keep putting up with it, but I just despise not getting to go hunting and having to sit there and meet people.
Right.
And people from the South would come breed the dog and leave. People from Alabama or wherever. But certain people from certain areas that come down, stay 2 or 3 days and want you to entertain them the whole time. And I work for a living.
Yeah.
I work 10 hours a day and drive 2 hours to a hunt, $10 hunt, $15 hunt. And they took all that away from me, and the hunting part. So I didn't like it. I didn't like breeding. And we had a Hobie stud too. We was breeding both of them.
Well, and before we hit record here, I had looked it up, and Ace was definitely doing his part as far as breeding, because I think there's 1,400 and some odd puppies that he sired out there. So that's quite a bit of females being bred right there for sure. Oh,
it was a good deal, you know. I mean, he was probably the most popular stud dog there, and he was definitely one of the best dogs in his time from 95 back to 92. He's definitely one of the best dogs hunting on the circuit out of any of them.
Yeah.
Russ Beller offered Jay $20,000 for him and wouldn't take it. And then Jamie Perrin offered him $20,000 and he wouldn't take it. Well, we sold him Jimmy for $12 when it was $6 because he just didn't want to fool. I didn't want to fool with the breeding, and Jay didn't either. He was sick.
Yeah.
He was getting treated for cancer. And he didn't like that breeding stuff a bit better than I did. In fact, he probably liked it less than I did. I met a lot of good people breeding that dog that I might have not met. I wouldn't have met without breeding. And actually, it turned out it's the right thing to do because he did improve the breed. I don't think nobody had ever argued with that.
Right.
And Ace was strong track dog. He was way head and shoulders above about anything you ever turned him loose with on tracking. I remember had him up in Indiana one time with a big cornfield out there, and dog's truck, they turned loose in the middle of that cornfield, and it was a water hole there, and them dogs struck 4 of them right there at that cornfield. Ace took the track, went all the way across the field, and got under a fence row and got treed, and them dogs was still there, and they started trailing, and in 5 minutes got passed on the tree before they ever trailed to the same tree he was treated on. It's kind of track dog he was.
Yeah.
And he was a one bark, absolutely, from day one, from the time he was 7 months old, he was a one bark tree dog. When he located, if it was his locate and you treated him, he'd be there. He definitely was a one bark tree dog. So he's an easy dog to handle because he's louder than about anything you hunt him with. The only thing I can think of that I hunted with as loud as Ace was a dog called Homer's Gomer.
Yeah.
And he's a walker dog, and we drew him in a regional qualifying hunt. And I think we won. I know we qualified over in Alabama. I don't know if we beat Homer's Gomer or somebody else in the cast. I don't think nobody else in the cast beat us. Because Ace made a tree and that dog made a tree, and I know both of them had coon. Next tree they made together. And them dogs were so loud, them other 2 dogs wouldn't get on the tree with them. They wasn't blowing at each other. They were just that loud and overpowering. They just intimidated.
Yeah, yeah. So, did y'all have some puppies out of Ace that y'all hunted or messed with?
Oh yeah, several of them.
What kind of traits was he putting in his puppies and passing on?
Good tracking's one of them, but the strong point, I guess, was stay put tree dogs. You know, I'm not saying that just from the ones I had, but that's what everybody says. So I'll go along with it. But the first puppy we had out of him was called Setum Up Joe.
Okay.
He's out of a dog over here in Greenville, Mississippi. Second gyp we bred, Jarvis is first. I don't think it had but one puppy, the best I can remember. But when we bred this gyp, she had several puppies, and they went to local hunters. And Floyd Kennedy, a really good friend of mine, he's dead now, but got killed, not instantly, he died from an accident, tractor tire run over, tractor wheel run over him. But he had this pup. He brought him over here, and I think it was in January, and we was hunting up at Holcomb, Mississippi, and the ground was froze. And I didn't know Floyd the first time I ever met him, and he wanted $1,000 for that puppy. And he about 7, 8 months old. That was a big price for a 7, 8 month old puppy. He wasn't a pretty dog either. He looked good enough, but he was kind of a small dog and everything. And long story short, he run a deer. Ace treat 2 or 3 coons, he run a deer. He wouldn't pay Ace no attention. And I tried to talk him down. He said, "No, he ain't come down, you know." So I paid him $1,000 and bought the dog and never made a treat. And he was a fine little hound. Harold Kurtz come over here and brought 2 gyps to breed the Ace. And that puppy was still just a puppy, like 9 to 10 months old. And we was hunting, he heard that puppy, struck a track. He wouldn't pay no attention to anything. He struck a track and worked it out there about 20 minutes and got treed and went about 500 or 600 yards. We went in there and shot the coon out, and he treed another coon. And Harold said, "You know, that Ace is an impressive dog," but said, "How in the world can you not be impressed with that 10-month-old puppy working them tracks, kind of tracks he's working and coming up with a coon, you know?"
Yeah.
And I remember another story about that deal there with Harold Kirk. Janet sent 2 dogs over here to be bred, and one of them had never had a puppy. They were litter mates. And so we bred one of them just right off. They was both in heat. Harold stayed about 3 days. The other one Ace wouldn't breed her. She's flagging, wouldn't breed her. And my vet's a old country vet, matter of fact kind of guy, just no bull crap, you know, just straight to the point. And Harold went up there, and Harold said, "Let's go do an ovulation test." So we went up there to Andy Johnson, Dr. Andy Johnson's clinic, to do that ovulation test. And he done it, and he called us back, and he called Harold back, and told him, said, "Your dog's going to be ready to breed in 11 days. And I remember Harold, he called and told me to come up there. We went up there. He told Harold, he said, "Dog will be ready to breed. She'll ovulate in 11 days. Harold said, "Doc, I hate to dispute your word." Said, "That dog's done been in the heat about the 16th, 17th day." And said, "Ain't no way she'd be ovulating in 11 days. Andy Johnson looked at him and said, "I don't give a damn if she's been in heat 34 days. In 11 days, she'll ovulate, and she'll take a dog." He said, "She'll take a dog now, you just won't breed her." He said, "The dog is smarter than y'all." Talking about Ace, you know. In 11 days, he left her, and she bred, and she had 7 puppies.
Yeah.
That's unreal. To me, that's unreal for a dog to go almost 28, 29 days.
Yeah.
Before they ovulate. But I guess that's the reason, I guess, if you're in the breeding business, you ought to check all that. I ain't never going to be in the breeding business.
Yeah.
And it might be a surprise to a lot of people that don't know me to realize that I don't raise a puppy from 7, 8 weeks old up. Ace is one of the few, very few I ever raised.
Yeah.
I can count them on one hand and have fingers left.
Yeah.
You know, but I just hate little bitty puppies. Now, when they get 6 months old enough to get out from under my feet,
Yeah.
I'm all in then, you know. Till then, I ain't all in.
Yeah. Yeah. So, before we completely move off that, talk about Hobie a little bit, because he's a dog that y'all run stud ads on too, and bred some females also. What kind of dog was Hobie? Where did he come from?
Hobie was a super nice dog. He was Myers bred dog, and I got him from Randy Smith, lives 80 miles from here at that time on Willow Point Hunting Club. Me and Randy's real good friends, always been good friends since I first met him. And I go up there and go hunting with him, big hunting camp, go hunting with him some. And we hunted Ace and Hobie together a lot. And Hobie was real accurate, but he was a track driving, running dog. I don't think he even could trail lay up. Ace could really trail lay up. Mm-hmm. But anyway, he was a real good track driving dog, and he had a mouth that was just, I could hear it, but I've treated him before, and people, like, I remember one particular night, it was drizzling and rain, I treated him, we was just pleasure hunting, me and Keith Watson. And Keith said, Eddie, that ain't no dog. He knew I couldn't hear him. He said, Eddie, that ain't no dog. I said, do you hear the crickets hollering way in there? He said, yeah. I said, that's Hobie. and that's what he had, you know. I think Greg Hodges described in the best. He said, with old Hobie trees, he sounds like a backup beeper on a garbage truck. But man, he was a hound. He was a nice hound. Every win he got, he deserved it. He just out-tuned dogged everything around him.
Yeah.
He could do it too. He didn't have nothing else on him, no foolish, nothing on his mind, nothing but coon hunt.
Yeah.
But Ace had him when I was hunting them both, you know, like I told you, Ace would win 3 out of 5 casts. But the only way Ace would win, he was a first track dog, which Hobie was a good strike dog. He was a first track dog, had better nose, and he was faster on a track than Hobie. Hobie was fast, but he was faster. And Ace had that drive. He had the drive to him, you know. But Ace would, the only times he beat Hobie, he'd treat one layup, but Hobie didn't know. Hobie didn't care no way. He didn't want to go with Ace, you know, and Ace didn't care about going with him. They treated well together a bunch, but they wasn't dogs looking to get treated with each other. But Ace would treat that layup, Hobie wouldn't get none of it, and he'd get 200 points on him.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
That Rex Allen dog we had, which I hadn't mentioned him, but Thomas Armstrong bought him over in Arkansas. Now, he was a Myers bred dog. I think he was raised in Black Horse, might have been his daddy, I believe it was. But he was a 120-minute treat dog in August. I mean, he was a treat dog out of this world. But I've seen not just 1 or 2 nights, several nights. You get up there and get to running flooded timber and little down stuff in there, and after about 20 minutes, the coons would run like in a rice field. They'd run for hours. You couldn't put them up. But they'd be running super hard, and in a minute, old Rex, he couldn't stand it no longer. He'd pull up trees. It wouldn't be nothing up there, and Ace would tree a coon 100 yards from him.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
But he was a super nice hound, old Rex Allen. I believe that dog, he probably throwed some good dogs, but in my opinion, he would have really been a nice stud dog, because he was top end strike dog too. Now, he wasn't track dog. He wasn't nowhere close track dog at Ace was. And neither was Hobie. But Hobie would bog down. But when he bogged down, Randy had him trained. You could walk out there and turn. I've done it in hunts several times. Just walk out there and turn my light on real bright and just kind of swish it around toward him. He'd leave there. Next time you heard him, he'd be treating under a red hot coon. He'd have them every time. Because he wasn't stopping till he run over top of one.
Yeah.
And he'd have every one of them.
Yeah.
It's tricks and you know, to all of them. It's something to learn about all of them.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
I never could hear real good, but my whole family can't hear. They have 1 person out of 5 in the kids that could actually hear, you know.
Yeah.
And well, I've been accused of faking it a bunch, but that was only because I knew what kind of dog you was hunting and what kind of handler you was, and I played off of it, and they thought I could hear a lot better at times than I actually could. But I couldn't hear real good. I probably would have won a little bit more if I'd have been able to hear good.
Yeah.
But I never did win nothing super big, you know. Me and old Hobie won a pro hunt, $4,000 pro hunt. And that may be the biggest. I think I got a bigger check in a world hunt with a walker dog that he had, but that may be the biggest single money-winning hunt I ever had, you know.
Yeah.
I've been third a bunch of times and second a bunch of times, a few times. Blackie, I had third with her the 3 days after we bought her in a pro hunt in Texas. I'll never forget that hunt. I wish I could think of that dog's name. They got a dog now, and Bobby Woods is hunting the dog now with the same name. I seen it at a hunt somewhere. But they had a super nice walker dog, and I remember being amazed. You go over there and they bid them hunts off Calcutta, and Guy Manning and Bobby Woods. Bobby Woods' daddy, I can't think of his name, and he had an uncle. I think his uncle and daddy was been on the dog together evidently. But I went over there and I drew them, and they bid like $150, $170 on the dog, $200, $250.
Yeah.
Who just leave me out the cold, you know. And I drew him over in that hunt. And this is it's comical because everybody knew that dog was going to win the cast. We went out and hunted the whole cast over, and I knew I won because I won on the tiebreaker rule. But none of them knew it. All of them, they done misfigured. You know, I always keep figures in my head, no problem. And when the cast was over, they was all congratulating Mr. Woods. Not Bobby's daddy, but Bobby's uncle. I can't remember his name. Everybody was congratulating him. When it got down to me and went to shake my hand, I said, congratulations on second place in the cast. And everybody just went into shock. What are you talking about? I said, y'all better add that scorecard up before you figure out who the winner is. Of course, they added it up and I won it, you know.
Yeah.
And then I drew out the late round, and little Blackie and another dog went back to the tree after they left. Then they went on hunting after that, and Blackie struck a track way down there, 300 yards from that tree, and trailed a coon right back to that same tree and treed on it. But it had 2 coons in it this time, but I got scratched for treeing on the same tree 3 times, which is the rule, you know.
Yeah.
I wound up with third place in that hunt. I've had some interesting casts for sure, you know.
Yeah, I would say so. Is there any other puppies out of Ace that sticks out in your mind?
Well, old Chance, he had a head that big around as a basketball, but he is one that sticks out to me. And he won a breed race, he won a state race, I don't know if he ever won a breed hunt or not. I can't remember that, but he won a lot. And he was consistent, but he never was good for about 2 coons, you know, in 2 hours. 3 trees, 2 coons.
Yeah.
But man, he won like something like 70% of his calves around here local. But you carry him up off somewhere where you got to have 500 to get in the finals, he ain't gonna make it.
Yeah.
He just wasn't that kind of dog. And the most interesting thing, and boy said something about that. I showed him my ad on Facebook the other day. And the boy come on there and I think his name's Steve Green. He come on there and said, we own Setum Up Chance. Well, I remember when they bought him, they was from South Carolina. And I asked him, if you moved that crate, he tried to eat you up if you grabbed it to slide it.
The dog box?
Yeah, the dog box in the truck. He didn't want nobody messing with that dog box in that truck. He didn't even want you to open the gate and let him out. But I asked him, I said, you ever grab that box and try to slide it while you had him? He said, yeah, and I still got the scars on my hand today. But he was a good one off Ace, you know. But that Setum Up Joe dog, he won a lot. Don Ribbon kept him up there at his house for, I don't know, quite a while. And I remember back then, Mr. Robinson was hunting, Lawton Robinson was hunting a lot, and they lived fairly close together. He would tell me stories about Lawton just getting mad at that dog about pulling out a calf's win, you know, right at the end. But he, like I told you earlier, you know, he didn't pay no attention to nothing. He just went and done his own thing. Wasn't nothing classy about him.
Right.
Looked, nothing. I seen him tree in the hunt I finished him the Grand Night champion. That Joe dog treed up here north of here. Royce Taylor was on the cast, I remember that, with a red bone. He was leading the calf. And they treed in a willow tree out there in the middle of a weed field. And when they treed the coon, one of the coons jumped out of the tree. We didn't know it was two coons up the tree. Mm-hmm. Mine stayed, so he gonna get minus because it's slick. You know, we knew the coon jumped out. We was close enough we'd see the coon jump out. And they all lit out there. Well, old Joe was like Ace or Chance. He locked them toenails in. He was there. He sat there and kept treeing, walked up there, and I looked for a coon, you know, and they kind of laughed. They didn't even help me. I looked up, I said, well, here he sit. They come over there and scored that coon, and the dogs got hung up on that track, and I turned old Joe loose, and he went straight to them. And when they was bogged up on that track, he took that track and went right up the hill and treated that coon ahead of him and won that cast and finished to a grand night.
Yeah, that's pretty good there.
Yeah, that's real good, yeah.
Yeah.
But he was pretty common all the way around, in my opinion. He was a good, solid dog, but he was just pretty common. Chance wasn't nothing special either. He had a good mouth, great big old dog, and he was like Ace. He locked them toenails in. He wasn't moving. In fact, Stephen Gamble was up there in 95 and told me, I told him, I said, I'm about to burn this dog out in these hunts. He's hunting Sally back then. I think it was 94 or 5. She was a real nice little hound off Ace. And she won a truck, in fact. Mm-hmm. But anyhow, he told me sitting up there on Maven Hunting Club porch. I told him, I said, I think I'm going to slack off on a chance. You're going to probably win the breed race because I think I'm about to burn him out. He's sour and he don't like hunting in these hunts. And he laughed at me. He said, if you could win it, you would win it. You just backing out because you know Sally's going to win it. I said, well, I guess you're going to make me win it. And they drew out together that night, and Clarence Stillman was hunting no chance. And Stephen was telling this. He said when they started to the tree, he said Sally quit treeing for a little bit and then went back to treeing and said you could hear old Chance in there blowing like a lion. He said I was saying all the way, and he's killing Sally, because he knew Sally would stir up a little something. Uh-huh. He said he's killing Sally. He's killing Sally. Now he's telling me this story after. He said when he got in there, he got Sally and them all got caught pretty easy. She got scored on a tree when she was standing back, and I think it was wound up being a hollow tree, best I remember. But there's a beehive in it.
Oh my goodness.
And he said every time one of them bees is sting old Chance, he said he'd blow like a lion. And said Junior had to walk in there and get him. He couldn't call him. See, he's just raking bees off him and the dog both, you know, just off his back. And that pretty well a stay-put treat dog.
Yeah, I would say so. I wouldn't stay there, I can tell you that.
Yeah, well, they didn't stay there either, but Chance didn't put them off. The bees put them off.
Yeah.
But I did go on, I'll go and finish it. I did go ahead and win that breed race that year with old Chance.
Yeah.
Just to make sure I got it in, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Me and Steve's real good friends, you know. We've been to Oklahoma. We carried Ace out there to Oklahoma to get him gathered for semen. Uh-huh. And he was hunting her then. He didn't win a cast, and I won every cast I hunted in. Yeah. And the last night they made us go back, and I won that final cast in, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
It hurts his feelings when that happens.
Yeah. So, which we've been at it for an hour, and I don't want to hold up no more of your time than I have to, but you said at the beginning when we were talking about Ace that y'all started breeding him too soon. What do you think affected him with that? You think you could have won more with him if y'all would have held out?
Yeah, I could have won more with him. I wouldn't carry him to hunts because you could tie him to the tailgate. He wouldn't pay no attention to dogs in the woods. Of course, he probably was a little more aggressive, you know, because of that. But he could tie him to the tailgate and he'd bark at every male dog and growl at him and walk by. Yeah. I just got to where I didn't want to carry him no more. Plus, people picking him up and moving him sooner or later, they may pick him up and keep going with him. Yeah, yeah. And that had the biggest influence on us not hunting him anymore. But if I'd have never bred him, he probably would have got quite as popular as he did. And they would have we would have been popular anyway because, you know, a bunch of people tried to buy him, but 2 high beers I done told you about on that, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I know there's some people that, you know, they start breeding pretty quick when they're young, and then I know some other guys, they wait and.
Well, it don't affect every dog the same, you know,
Right.
and it didn't affect him hunting, 'cause I think that's the only reason I won that first breed hunt. 'Cause I think Tosac Tom Bill, and I can't prove this, and I probably ought not say it, but I think Tosac Tom Bill following Cookie around 'cause she was in the heat, and Ace was kind of dog, he wouldn't pay no attention to a dog when he was hunting.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a good a dog as Tosac Tom Bill back then, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
And definitely wasn't a handler as good as Eddie Fender, you know. I mean, he was one of the top handlers in the country. You know, we didn't make many mistakes. Me or John Chingalani, either one. You know, we wasn't top handlers, but we didn't make too many mistakes.
Yeah.
We can hold our own.
Yeah. Well, you got anything else you want to add before we can shut this down, or?
Well, I'll just tell you one story about Ace. When he was about 7 months old, my friend, I mentioned in this thing before, D. Turner, we was walking down the rise levee, and Ace wasn't hunting. He just pilling in front of us, you know. Might not even been 6 months old, but ever how old it was, he wasn't hunting. But he would tree at that time. But he spotted a headlight, a coon in a big old oak tree sitting on the side of that rice field. And he was looking, he quit looking, and I wasn't telling sicking the dog or nothing. Well, I just got to bumping my helmet, and I got to watching that puppy got to winding. And I'd bump my helmet with my, I don't know what I had in my hand, probably a pocket knife, I think. And he treed that coon. He went over there and treed. That's the first coon he ever treed in his life by himself, completely by himself. We shot it out. And that dog was so smart from that day on, and several people can witness this for you. We could be in a hunt and I could headlight a coon out there, and if Ace got nowhere close to it, I could bump that knife on my helmet, and it might take him a minute, but he'd find that coon and treeing.
Wow.
I've done it after hunts just to show people that he'd do it, you know.
Yeah.
I guess that about wraps it. We done bragged on Ace about all we need to, I reckon.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Eddie, I appreciate you inviting me into your house and taking the time to sit down and do this with me. And there's a lot of history there that's going to be preserved now that we're going to get out there that I'm sure people's going to want to hear. And I appreciate you and Jay. I talked to Jay also. Y'all allowed me to do this, and Jay said you'd be the man to talk to. You hunted him the most, so I really do appreciate you taking the time to be on here today.
Well, that's fine. I really wasn't too big on doing no broadcast with anybody, but he kind of wanted me to do it because of Ace, you know. So I'd do it. You know, we real good friends, best friends.
Well, I truly do appreciate you taking the time to sit down and talk about it today. And is there anybody else you want to thank or give a shout out to before we shut this down?
I guess that's it. Other than I'll just say one thing, that hundreds of people ask me all the time, call and tell me, he said, well, you the breeder of Setum Up Ace. Well, Eddie Muse didn't have anything to do with the breeding of Setum Up Ace. It was all Carmine Hart and Riley LaPoon. I just happened to get the puppy.
Yeah.
And I've never felt like I promoted the black and tan breed, but of course I did because I did breed Ace, but it wasn't my intentions, I'll put it that way.
You was just hunting a good coon dog.
That's all. And if I had a dog to do over, I definitely would not breed that dog till he's 5 years old. I believe he would have won a world hunt if I'd have just kept him out of the breeding pen.
Wow.
But there's so many good dogs, and I guarantee you 90% of the people will tell you that he put the stay put tree dog in the black and tans and the mouth. That's the two things they'll tell you. Well, I've seen a bunch of black and tan, and then brother breeds too, but a bunch of black and tans that was awful weak track dogs. Mm-hmm. They get in the bog or water or something and hang up. Ace didn't have no hang ups nowhere on the track. I remember a guy from New York come down here, bred a dog, And we went hunting in the Ace Trail to Coon about 20 minutes, went across 2 sloughs and went about 700 and something yards. Rough stuff. Been treating, had that coon. I was kind of chest blowed out. You know, that guy said, "Oh, don't worry about it. Sometimes up there we trail them that long too." he didn't appreciate it, you know, too much. Like I did.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Mr. Eddie, I sure appreciate you being on the podcast today, and we're going to shut it down here, and I'm going to get back on the road. I got another 7 hours to go.
All right, well, good luck to you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, guys, for listening to the Coonhound Collective podcast today. We really appreciate you taking your time out of your day to listen to the podcast. If you don't mind, head over to Facebook and give us a like, and head over to Instagram and give us a follow. It's both at the Coonhound Collective. Also, if you would like to reach us here at the Coonhound Collective, you can reach us at thecoonhoundcollective@gmail.com. If there's someone that you would like to hear on the podcast or a product that you would like to hear talked about, please send it to thecoonhoundcollective@gmail.com. Thanks again. Have a great day.